Greetings, Legionists, Arndale here. So, in my last video, I made a comment about how Space Marines rarely get angry. And that was actually extremely inaccurate. Anyone who's ever been in a fight knows you get angry. And that's actually a tool. It's not something that necessarily works against you. There is a time and place to get angry. There is a purpose for anger. And when you're in a fight, especially a fight for your life, getting angry is the thing to do. Summoning up that anger and using your rage and aggression towards your enemy. Now, a lot of people also commented and put out there different chapters and legions that really get angry. The first person, Naktmar22, I hope I pronounced that correctly, said, he quoted me, "It's very rare for a Space Marine to get angry at Angels and Khorne Berserkers." And I laughed at that, and I was just like, okay, you know what? That's completely legit. They get angry a lot. In fact, due to the butcher's nails in their head, it's arguable that they're angry all the time, because unless they feel angry about everything and anything they do, the butcher's nails cause them pain. Literally, you try to think about anything and not be angry about it, it stimulates pain. Whereas you get angry about something and it stimulates dopamine. It, stimulates the reward centers of your brain. The butcher's nails are a real nasty piece of work. And yeah, figuring that out, just nasty. Well, in any case, then you move on, and somebody talked about the Blood Angels. They said Laughs and Blood Angel. And I'm like, okay, all right, genetic defect passed down ever since, spoiler alert, I guess, Sanguinius died. I guess if you didn't know that Sanguinius dies, well, you really haven't been up to date on the lore. But anyway, ever since Sanguinius died, the Blood Angels have had that defect. And while they seem to be nobility on the surface, and I'm talking about the founding Legion Blood Angels, not the Flesh Terrors, they devolve into that rage. And then someone mentioned Black Templars. And Black Templars I'm not nearly as familiar with. However, I know that when it comes to Space Marines, everything's different with them, because they actually believe the Emperor is a god. They believe that. They are one of the extreme few chapters that will say for the God Emperor, or even for the Emperor. Because Space Marines fight for the Imperium of Man. Yes, they serve the Emperor, but they fight for the Imperium, and there's a distinct difference there in terminology. And they especially will not refer to the Emperor as the God Emperor. Especially not Ultramarines. That's just one of my problems with the Space Marine video game. A Space Marine captain actually refers to the Emperor as the God Emperor, and I'm like, you done screwed up. You didn't do your research there. Moving on. So, and then just to address the other chapters and legions, Space Wolves, they also have to combat anger massively. They have to fight, well, not fight, but when their aggression, when their anger comes out, it comes out with a vengeance. These chapters, they all have to deal with this. And anger isn't just a tool to them. It's a lifestyle. It's something they have to live with every day. But defining the fact that if I were to say one word defines Space Marines, it's an attribute that I'd say they have strongest, that would be, without doubt, willpower. Without doubt. There is no other attribute about Space Marines that gets anywhere near that one word. They are willpower incarnate. Now, a lot of people might come out there and say, well, there are at least certain ones that aren't, such as Space Wolves, Blood Angels, Khorne Berserkers, etc. And I would actually argue against that. Even though Space Wolves, unlike Blood Angels, appear on the surface to be unkempt, unruly, disheveled warriors who are just either fighting or partying, the fact is, that in order to actually cage the beast within, they are the most trained. They are the most disciplined. Because to be able to hit that aggression and come back from it, they have to have the greatest willpower of all. Any Space Marine who has that inflicted on him has the most willpower. The most by far. And the Blood Angels, nobility incarnate on the surface, and absolute bloody berserkers underneath the surface, just like the others. They appear to be nobility incarnate, in many ways are, but the ability to drag themselves back every time after a battle is over, after they actually, and I'm not just talking about a one-sided battle, which is most Space Marine battles. Most Space Marine battles are relatively one-sided because they're smart, they're tactical, and they have extreme willpower. And they are sent in for tasks that others can't do. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they have the willpower to throw themselves into situations that are suicide. And I'm kind of wandering away from the point is most of their battles are relatively one-sided, but the battles that aren't are what really stimulate that aggression. That's when you're fighting for your life. That's when aggression is brought to the surface. Now, for the Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Khorne Berserkers especially, any battle is going to bring out that aggression in them. Because maybe not the Blood Angels. Maybe they've got a better lid on it, I think, for battles that don't actually endanger their lives. But for the Space Wolves, and especially the Khorne Berserkers, any battle is essentially bringing that out. Now, for Khorne Berserkers, for them especially, it's a relief to go into battle. It's a relief to get angry. It allows them to release and let go of all that pent-up anger and aggression inside that they've been feeling, because it's a build-up for them. Because any thought that isn't anger or aggression hurts them, causes them pain, if they have the butcher's nails embedded in their brains. Mind you, if they don't have those, then that is going to be less of a trial for them, in my opinion. But for those that do, every day is agony. Every day is pain. A Khorne Berserker with butcher's nails will vent that in every possible moment they can. In any case, alright. But don't mistake that for thinking they have weak willpower. Don't mistake that for thinking that they're weak in their minds. They have to be the strongest. Only when a Space Wolf, a Blood Angel, a Khorne Berserker lose their minds, only when they finally succumb all the way and just become Berserkers, or in the Space Wolf's case, Wolfen. In the Blood Angel's case, Death Company. Only when that happens have they finally pushed too far and lost their minds, that saying that they have the greatest willpower is no longer accurate, because at that point they no longer have willpower on the surface anymore. I think underneath, the fact that they don't just mindlessly attack their brothers, because yeah, Khorne Berserkers who have lost their mind even, they don't just attack their brethren. There is still willpower there. There is something there. It's just not as they're just at this point mindless going into combat, and they just attack the foe. And yes, there are incidents where they will attack their own kin, but only after normally they get into combat. Wolfen, they can even be controlled. There are special, I think, chaplains trained to control the Wolfen and send them into combat. And the same with the Blood Angels. The Khorne Berserkers, I don't know if there's any among the Khorne Berserkers that are there to control their mindless brethren. I don't know that much about them. But I would love it if that was the case. That would be awesome. That would be absolutely awesome. I would love to dive into the lore of the Khorne Berserker and see how it is beneath the surface. But I love Astartes, especially for that scene where the Space Marine sergeant, he's just been kicked out, ripped off his helmet, puked on the ground, and then all of a sudden he just comes to. You see his eyes open up, hand grips clenches on the ground, and he stands up and he just assesses his situation. That is Space Marine. That is Astartes. That is Willpower. That is him simply assessing the situation. He is a born and bred killer. Okay, maybe not born. Depends on where he grew up in the Imperium. But he is a bred killer. He is a machine in flesh form. And he is there to to protect the Imperium. Astartes chapters are meant to gather their initiates as young as possible. Only the ones that are more desperate will gather them when they're old. Well, okay, that's not 100% true. Some chapters just gather them at an older age. But the ones, in my opinion, that gather the best initiates, get them when they have memories of next to nothing else. Get them when they're so young that they already would have a hard time remembering anything from before they were a Space Marine. In my opinion, those are by far going to be the best. Yes, becoming a Space Marine makes your past life, your previous life, it turns it into a fog, a haze. This is, of course, done on purpose, making remembering your previous life difficult so that all you'll be, all you'll know, all you are is Space Marine. That's one of the reasons why I think the Emperor made it so that when they get too old, they can no longer be made into a Space Marine. Now, mind you, there were genetic reasons for that the Emperor couldn't filter out. But I think that was definitely one of the reasons why he would have been more okay with it, because the adults who go through the modifications to become Space Marines, they actually retain a lot more from their previous lives. They're never full-fledged Space Marines. They can't undergo all the process that other Space Marines can. So physically, they'll never be the equal of Space Marines taken when they're younger who have the full genetic structure of a Space Marine. But these ones also will never have the full mind of a Space Marine, unless they were trained as a soldier already from birth. That's all they know. Then, mentally speaking, they will be arguably pretty close to on par with other Space Marines, if not on the same level, depending on the not brutality, but the training that they received, the level of training that they received in becoming a Space Marine. In any case, I cannot understate in the slightest how potent the willpower of a Space Marine is. Their minds, their willpower, are second to none. And that is one of the ultimate reasons why they are the apex super soldier in any universe. I love super soldiers. And every time I get into a universe, I look for the super soldiers. Which is why when I got into Warhammer 40k, you want to know what got me into Warhammer 40k? Space Marines. I heard about them. I was like, oh, they sound kind of interesting. And I looked into them, and I was like, oh, holy crap, they're even better than Spartans from Halo. Which at that point was the apex super soldier that I could find anywhere. And when it comes to willpower, they're on par with Spartans. I know there's going to be a crap ton of people slobbering at the chops to tell me that Space Marines are better than Spartans in every way. And I'm just like, well, then you don't understand Spartans. You haven't researched them like I have. I was a fan of Spartans first. I know a lot about them. When it comes to willpower, they are on par with Space Marines. No, they've never fought demons, but they have gone into suicide missions time and time and time again. In fact, I have never read a book in Warhammer 40k that has fully, properly displayed the mentality a Space Marine would have. And if you want to know what a Space Marine's thoughts would be like, you want to know how they would act, Go read Halo: The Fall of Reach. That will tell you everything you need to know. No, Spartans are not Space Marines, but they are the closest thing we have outside of 40k. There is nothing else closer. And I love them for that. In any case, yes, if you want to understand the mentality of a Space Marine, go read Halo: The Fall of Reach. That book is on my top three favorite books of all time. And I can't recommend it enough. It shows everything, well, almost everything needed to hone the mind of a child and turn it into a super soldier. A terrifying super soldier. Alright, in any case, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'd love to hear from you down in the comment section below. And, yeah, I will see you all the next time. And don't get into too much trouble or do. It's always up to you. Toodles all.